What's up, everybody? This is the Cartel here with the War Pigs back from his hiatus last week. War Pigs, what's going on?
Vacation, not hiatus.
I didn't know if it was vacation or not.
I went to Chicago and didn't call Nandu, just like he does when he comes to anywhere else that anybody in the league lives.
Fair
Doesn't
enough.
want anybody to see him, so I was like, fine, I'm not gonna
Fair
see
enough.
you either, pal.
He's probably just salty because of his division standings this year. So I can understand why he wouldn't want to see anybody. This is week 7 of the MFFL. That's our third Fantasy Bros podcast. And I guess let's jump right into the standings. They were updated around 12:30 last night. I didn't realize that. And I got on the app and I was adding wins, additional wins. I was like, oh, wow, I'm almost 500. And then I realized they had already updated it. So I was sad. Superstar division, your division, what's going on in that division this week?
I used to be able to tell how many games we played because that's how many wins I had, but now it doesn't work. So I got my first loss, but guess what? Everybody else in my division lost too. So it's division wise, it doesn't matter. I'm still 2 games up on Bad Company. Blues, kind of seemingly on his way out this year, as are the Barbarians.
Yeah,
So,
everybody lost in your division, which is funny because 2 weeks ago you were like, the Superstar division is clearly the strongest division and the All-American division sucks. And everybody in my division won. Conversely, from yours, everybody lost. So it doesn't move the standings at all. It just makes the middle tighter.
right.
And the Power Pack division split, which is expected, right?
Yeah.
So I think you're right. All in all, it's gonna be really tough, probably impossible for Conan and Ypsilanti Pitbulls to pull back into the playoff contention. And even if they did, they would get knocked out most likely, and they would just get a shitty draft pick. So they're probably looking already to the future and how to build whatever their draft situation is going to be for next year. However, I think it was Biohazards that made a post, which is accurate. There's a whole lot of teams at 3 and 4. They're going to be jostling for, there's only 3 spots after the division leaders. And then let's assume that Bad Company stays a game ahead of everybody. Who knows, right? I think I play him this week, so that either I'm going to be hurting or he's going to be hurting. But that means there's 2 more spots available for all of the 3 and 4 teams to fight for. Somebody's going to be a winner and multiple people are going to be losers. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, part of what I said that in Chicago Blues looks like they're on their way out is not just because he's 2 and 5, because clearly that's only 1 game back of everybody else. It's 3 and 4. But I'm looking more like average points per game for those teams at the bottom. Blues are under 90 points a game. Royal Oak under 82 or at 82. Bullies 86. Pitbull's actually over 90 at 92. It's not even bad. It's just, so that's like, to me, that's the one team that actually would have a shot, or realistically looking at the numbers like that. But, all the division leaders are averaging over 100. And for me and Untouchables, we're at 112, 117. Then you got Bad Company at 104. And then you got the Power Pack division, you got 3 teams over 100. So you're talking about right now, as far as who's got the best division, that's the best division to me. You got 3 teams averaging over 100 points. Any of those guys can make it. But you're right. This is a big log jam in the middle. Everybody thinks, oh, I'm having a horrible year because I'm 3 and 4. No, this is exactly how I've been getting in every other year. With my team is you just do enough to get in at the end. And for these teams, it's going to be huge making the right moves coming down the stretch here. I mean, this is week 8 coming up, right? Which means you've only got, including this week, you've only got 4 weeks left before the trade deadline.
Yep. And we said this before, there's still a lot of football to be played. If it was as easy as picking and drafting based on the ADP, and then they always perform exactly to their ADP, you would know who's going to win the beginning of the season because you could tell who had the best overall stack team. However, Breece Hall out for the season. That changes fundamentally that team. and all of a sudden Robinson gets traded and McCaffrey gets traded. And let's say that Josh Allen gets, strep throat and he doesn't play. Like, there's all these things that could happen that could completely change any given game. So we could get knocked out in the first quarter and not play the rest of their game. They get a goose egg, they lose. Like, there's so much still that could happen that nobody is out of it. Anything can happen. That's what makes this fun. If it was already a 3-person race completely for who was going to win, I would lose interest. There's still a lot of tension in the league. And I don't mean that emotionally. I mean, like in the league play. I think that's what makes it interesting for me, at least, to follow. So let's jump right into some of the games. I think you've got the ability to go look at the scores there head to head last week.
All right. If I can figure out how to do that, yeah, it must be live scoring. So
yeah, live scoring. It should go loud. There you go.
So on my screen, we might as well just go in order here.
Sure.
This was billed as a huge upset if the usually awesome untouchables were to play because half his team was on a bye. Right? Yeah. And then we've got me, who hadn't lost yet at the time. The only person I had on bye was Sanders. So that was, I think you and Mike talked about it too. This should have been a War Pigs win, right? If you're looking at it, but instead, just like we just talked about, anything can happen. You get 21 points from Eno Benjamin, who could have been on your list for Corey. What team does this guy play for, and what position is he? I knew position. I couldn't have told you the team. Obviously that's the best game he's ever had because this is the first time he started a game, right? Jamar Chase, kind of, he had a great game, but since I had Burrow, that kind of, mitigated how big of a game that was. So it's Eno Benjamin. You got Juju blowing up. He's actually had a couple good games in a row now too. I don't want to say he hadn't. And that's all he really needed. I mean, you got those 3 guys getting over 20. Kenny Pickett didn't really have to do anything other than make sure he didn't get 5 or something like that,
Yeah, let me give context to this. He's missing arguably QB1, top 2 in the league, a top 5-ish back, maybe not this year, but in general, and then also a top 5 wide receiver. There is no way. I think Goddard also was out. Not that he would start him, but maybe Goddard's been really good this year. There's no way he should have been close to beating you. No. And with those guys missing, he still scored 113 points. Yes, that's what a lot comes into it. Would I ever start Juju Smith on my team? Never, not even on a bye week. But he got the day he played him, he did well. Same thing. Wouldn't be playing if the James Conner wasn't hurt. And Kenny Pickett sucks. But he gave him a passable amount. And if on your side, you didn't have anybody you could have played that would have given you more points. Like if you score 104 points, you'll win most games. You should have won today. You would have beat most teams. If you had played Brandon Ayuk instead of Alec Pierce, would have given you 10 points. Would you have won? Sure, maybe, but you can't go back and armchair that. Like at the end, this is an upset. It's not as big of an upset as Jeff wanted to make it out to be. It's two brutal guys beating each other up. It is what it is. I'm glad that it happened because now it gives parity to the league. It makes it a little more interesting. You lick your wounds and you guys go on to next week. And the bad thing is his worst bye week is gone. So from this point forward, it will be easier than this was his hardest probably challenge. But that's what makes football cool. That's what makes fantasy fun to watch.
Yep.
Next one.
Yeah, next one here, we got the Pit Bulls and the Barbarians. So go ahead, tell me about this great matchup.
I mean, we knew last week when we talked about it, it was the 2 kind of cellar dwellers fighting it out for who was going to potentially get first pick overall. I know they both wanted to win. We knew there was going to be one winner. Honestly, I'm surprised that the Pit Bulls scored 118 points. That's clearly his probably best scoring week of the year so far. His teammate, his players played well. The ones that he played, Daniel Jones with 30 points or whatever, right? This game was over before it started. It is what it is. It'll be interesting to see now what happens the rest of the season. If it stays like this and we just trade out. And I think Pit Bulls' first round pick goes to Jeff Bruni. So I am very hopeful that he does not get a first round pick and that wins a couple more games. So he gets like a 5th round pick would be great. But you look at Royal Royal, I can't say that, Royal Oak Conan Barbarians. It's a mouthful.
Yeah.
James Robinson just got traded. Who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah.
DeAndre Swift is coming back. He played him. I think he thought he was supposed to start, and they probably just didn't pay attention that he was pulled at the last second.
Well, he doesn't have anybody else. He doesn't have any running backs on his bench. So
there's a separate conversation that if he was in play or playing a good player where that win mattered, we would probably be up in arms talking about the fact that all owners need to have a full lineup, period. Whether he's a starter or an RB2, doesn't matter. Find somebody for 20 cents, 30 cents. And if you have to sell people to make the money, like that's just part of the process. This is his first year in the season. We're figuring it out. But, had it been Jeff Bruni playing somebody who didn't get rid of Josh Allen because he didn't want whatever, this could have been a stickier situation.
Right.
That being said, Swift's coming back. Robinson's traded. Chubb's a beast. Prescott's coming back from being injured. Who knows if he's going to get better or continue to suck. I mean, this team has the potential to beat any team on any given week once they get out of some of the injury stuff that they've been dealing with. And he was on a bye and he's been kind of underwhelming this year. So I wouldn't sleep on the Barbarians yet. I think they probably have 2 more wins than them this season, maybe 3.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just quickly, Godwin, before the season started, Brady comes back. Oh, Godwin's going to be awesome. Godwin was hurt before. Godwin coming back is going to be awesome. Courtland Sutton still is talked about as the best fantasy player on Denver's roster, but Russell Wilson inexplicably has been so horrible. And obviously this week he didn't even play.
Yeah.
And that didn't help. Kyle Pitts is supposed to be a top tight end. Nick Chubb obviously is his best player. There's no question there. And like you said, Swift and Robinson, Swiss Family Robinson, there you go. Could do anything. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how those dudes 1-6 with some of those names, but again, like you said, it's just names. That's ADP before the season. He had a great team, and now he's 1-6.
If Robbie Gold, your kicker, scores 1 point less than your quarterback, you're not going to win that week. As a general statement.
No. All right. So next we got CC versus CC.
This was clearly, in hindsight, the game of the week.
Right.
I don't know that his team was markedly better than mine to start. I felt pretty good going into this week. I had Justin Jefferson on a bye, which hurts me, but I thought, all right, I picked up Nico Collins. He's been pretty good. He got a groin injury, went out, but Mostert and Kamara and everyone just did just enough. No one blew up. Well, Kittle had a great game. It was his first game as a TE1, but everyone did just enough to win by 1 point. And at the end, that extra sack that they got gave me the point that I needed. And Jacoby caught a touchdown, fell down on the 2-yard line, and then stood up again and then fell into the end zone. Had they just touched him, it wouldn't have been that close. This is what fantasy is all about. I think the Commandos is probably a little salty about the loss because it could have gone either way. But also, he has some buys, right? He had the Bills were on bye, and I think he just picked up. Didn't he just pick up Trevor Lawrence this week? I think he picked Trevor Lawrence.
I don't even know some of that stuff I'm not paying attention to, but
he's got a solid team. He could easily make the playoffs. He's got a deep team. It just depends on, who shows up any given day. And the Washington Redskins have kind of sucked, which hurts. Gibson's been kind of quiet this year, but he had a big week. McLaurin had a good week, but I wouldn't start him either. They've not been startable. So it's just a luck of the draw.
No, I mean, this was a great game. You guys both had almost everyone on your starting lineups do really well. The only exception, like Nico Collins. But again, you didn't really have a choice there with bye for Jefferson. And then his tight end, that's the guy that got his eye poked out. I mean, it wasn't really poked out, but apparently it looked like it. So he left the game after like one play or something, one catch. So that was huge for him too. And this was a great game, and both you guys are 3-4, so you're both still in it. To
Nandu's
knocked
point,
out or guaranteed anything. So
to Nandu's point, this will show up as a loss for Commandos, but from a power ranking standpoint, if you score 113.3 points, his power ranking stand probably went up because he would have beat almost every team in the league this week. So It's
Yeah.
just one of those that this is part of the luck that comes with fantasy football.
Yep. Next up, we got the Hazards and the Kings. I don't even know what to say about this because Mike has been almost operating this entire season under the impression that he wasn't going to make the playoffs, right? I mean, we've talked privately. I'm not telling anybody any secrets here that, just don't do anything stupid like last year, like trade a bunch of high draft picks because you're scraping and clawing trying to get that last spot in the playoffs. But now he's 3-4.
Yeah.
He's got Kenneth Walker starting and blowing up.
Oh,
Looks better every week that he plays. Kyler Murray has not played well, and you just wait for the time when he gets 30 a game again, right? That could happen at any point here. And he won with 111 points with none of his receivers getting into double digits. 8.9, 1.7, and 6.9, and he still had 111 points with no receivers, basically.
yeah.
So
And Gus Edwards is back.
Right.
So you play him.
And Gus Edwards is back.
He's playing as your third running back. You play 2 wide receivers.
Yeah.
He's weak on receiver, but he's strong on running back. He's got what should be a top quarterback. I mean, he's one of those. He's 3-4. He can win any given week as well. Doesn't have the depth that he probably would like, but I have 3 words for you: Kenneth Walker. That's it. Like, he's been putting up 15 to 30 points a game. That's going to give you a shot at winning any given week. I wanted him to lose to Biohazards for my own personal reasons because of the division race. And it also side emotionally, when it's clear that Tim's going to lose, he just turns off and doesn't watch it, and I don't get into the shit talking. So I want to get him to the very close edge and then still lose, because then I get to see him kind of fall apart. And he was like Sunday at like 1:15 p.m. He was like, I'm done. F this game. I'm not watching any more football. He was already out of it. So it wasn't fun.
Yeah, it's no fun. We need that Timmy explosion.
Yes. Although he got, ETN is I didn't think he was going to be that good this year. I thought, honestly, it would be the Robinson train and ETN would catch some out of the backfield. And that's what happened for the first couple of games. But now that they traded Robinson to the Jets, ETN looks like he's going to be set up to be the RB1, and he can catch passes. He might blow up and be a secret weapon for him if he can stay healthy. He seems to be a frail dude. So we'll see if he can take the punishment or not.
Yeah, I don't really see. I don't. Obviously, that helped his running back situation. Will look kind of shaky for a little bit there, but if you look at his bench too, he's got 1 receiver. Obviously, that's the Buffalo. That was a big one to not have. But everybody else he's got is running backs.
Yeah,
and I understand they're high value, but looking at his team going forward, obviously his biggest problem is wide receiver. His best receiver is Michael Pittman, I guess.
Yeah.
Except, no, probably Gabriel Davis, actually. But going into the season, it probably would have been Michael Pittman.
Yeah.
Now Ryan gets benched, is hurt, whatever.
Yep.
I can't even pronounce the guy's name who's replacing him.
Yep.
Or Erlinger or something like that. Tyler Lockett's 45 years old. Good for him. He's still playing, but he's not going to have blow-up games. And Alan Lazard is Lazard. He's like Devontae Jr. -2. He's not going to maybe once in a while have a good game. So I don't know. I mean, he's 3-4, but looking at this roster right now, he's in big trouble.
See, I said that last week and I got blasted by him on Slack. I was like, I like the team that he puts on as the starters. I don't see the depth. I think McCaffrey getting traded, less to his words, screws him, because the depth that he had was also on the 49ers. Now he has 6 running backs on the 49ers. Only one's going to blow up. Who do you start? Elijah Mitchell's on IR. Do you keep him? Do you IR him? Do you just drop him? He's got 2 quarterbacks. Bailey Zappi looked like hot shit last night. Do you keep
he looked good for about 5 minutes.
Yeah, well, the next week I believe is Mahomes is on bye, so I think he's kind of keeping Zappi to get just a coverage for the bye week.
If he starts,
then whatever, anything could happen. So
yeah, I'm sorry, Tim, but I think you're in trouble, buddy. So anyway, all right, AABSB.
Oh, wow,
trying to make it as long as possible. SBDC. This was obviously a terrible game of the week.
This was my upset I called last week, because Bad Company should have clearly won But the Bullies, I just felt like with Cup being on a bye, and he had to get rid of Jalen Hurts and picked up Jared Goff for his quarterback, and that was a huge drop off. Goff should have done much better than he did. He didn't, and that sunk him. I mean, if Goff had thrown up 15, 20 points, this is a tied game. He didn't. Game over. I mean, Tom Brady didn't do much better, but he had enough points to eke out a win, and that's what Broad Street Bullies does. He just annoys you just enough and the line. And he's like, fly, Eagles fly, get some. And he wins by like 0.08%. I mean, points. So good for him. He's tied with us. But as far as the 3 and 4 teams go, they're not all equal, right?
No, it's like we talked about at the beginning. His point average is in the 80s, right? And as evidenced by this win right here. This is how he won last year too. Props to him for doing it.
Yeah.
We know how that works. It just depends who you play that particular week.
He has 2 Carolina running backs that both put up 15 points.
Right.
Like, yeah. I mean, good power to him for picking him up and having the foresight and all of that. It's great. But also remember, they're on a horrible offensive team, and neither of them has been a starter anytime they were ever on a team. So there's a reason. Is this a drop in the bucket, or is this going to be a lightning and thunder kind of tandem that are going to score 15 points a game? We'll see. Maybe that ends up being enough for him to make the playoffs, and we'll be back and I'll be like, I was wrong. Great pickup. Or maybe exactly what I think is going to happen, which is they won't really do much at all. And then, he'll be stuck with Saquon and Najee Harris, who, for whatever reason, they don't seem to both blow up at the same time. So you have one guy scores 8, one scores 20, one guy scores 20, one guy scores 8. But I don't see them like putting up 20 points at the same time for whatever reason, because they're both on shitty teams, I guess. But they're both really good running backs. So I'm not saying get rid of them, trade them. Great. But as long as Barkley stays on the Giants and Harris to stay on the Steelers with the quarterbacks that they have and the offensive line that they have, you're going to be limited. It's just the way the math works.
Yeah. I mean, I do like Khalil Herbert on Chicago, but again, he's actually RB2 there. He just spells Montgomery, and their quarterback is a running quarterback on top of it. So he's really like RB3 on that team, and just somehow they put up 33 yesterday. I don't know how that happened. That was embarrassing if you're a Patriots fan.
I mean, Chris Olave was a great pickup for him. I had an opportunity to get him, and I didn't because I was worried about who was going to throw to him. And in hindsight, that was a miss. So that was a good pickup, and he seems to be fairly consistent. So
yeah,
props to him. Now, bad company wanted to take that next step to kind of be in that higher echelon, and they took a step back. So it made that gap just a little bit less. Breece Hall's out now. Mixon's been very good this year. Pollard's been good, but again, he's not the starter. He's got issues at quarterback. Gallup got a goose egg, which screwed me in my other league. I thought he would come back and do well, and Dak didn't. Waddle, I mean, he's got a solid team. You look at everybody on there.
Well, he's got Cup on the bench. That was a big one. Obviously, Cup could have won that game by himself if he wasn't on bye this week. But I think now, with Breece Hall being out for the year, that's a big problem, because now he's got Mixon and Pollard, who's an RB2. Dallas doesn't usually put up a lot of points. I'm surprised he even had 11. And then his bench is all handcuffs for running backs. This is about the worst running back bench with that many dudes. 5 running backs, they're all handcuffs. Nobody does anything. So there's nobody to plug in there, right? That bye week is a handcuff.
Well, and the other issue is Hall is a rookie. So when let's say he IRs him, which he probably will and should.
Yeah.
Cool. That only frees up 0.7. So you can't get a quarter. There's no running backs to get because we're so far in the league that everyone's been scoured. But B, even if there was, you're not going to typically get a good one at 0.7. So it's different if you lose Jonathan Taylor at 3.5, because now I have tons of salary. I can buy stuff. He doesn't have the money. And
I mean, to be fair, he could cut all 5 of those running backs and not hurt himself, though. Right?
That's true.
He could cut all 5, maybe trade like Judy or, Waddle or something, and maybe get one of Tim's 5 running backs who also don't do a lot, but maybe they're a little better than his. But this is another team now. That Breece Hall injury is a lot bigger than you would think, because his bench, there's nothing there. There's nobody to replace Hall. And again, maybe we wouldn't be saying this, and he would have won by 20 if Cooper Kupp would play this week. But guess what? He didn't. and now you're 4-3. So,
And this is part of the fantasy part that we love and hate is all of this nuanced salary cap stuff. It could be way simpler if we didn't do salaries and we just drafted players, but this makes it more challenging, which makes it more fulfilling when you make it work.
that's right. That's right. All right,
Finally,
last one here.
Oh,
Last one, we got the lead dogs and the Blues. This is one of those games, like you were talking about, that was going to come down to it, and it did. And I didn't think it was going to go this way,
I
and
didn't
it
either.
happened
I
late.
called the Blues to win.
Yeah, this happened late. This is a David Montgomery late touchdown. It wasn't necessary. Wasn't garbage time really, but I mean, he hadn't really done much before he scored. That's not the whole game, obviously, because that's only 6 points and it was a 10-point difference, but that was huge.
This is the Josh Jacobs show. Minus
That's
that, he having an
ridiculous.
average day. He loses. St. Brown gets hurt with basically no points. He has no points on his bench. Again, we've talked about this in the beginning. More power to him. He's had a great season and could hope it continues. But barring an injury, if an injury happens, there's just no one to put in. So, good for him. Josh Jacobs showed up. I know everyone could have picked him up. Nobody did, including me. All the pundits said he sucks. He's not even in the top 10.
Yep.
The team's not going to be good. So we all passed on him. Rodney took him and he gets to
Yep.
bear the results. Good, power to him.
Yeah. No, I mean, this is a game that maybe he shouldn't have won, but again, we've talked about this all season. The Blues, definitely downward spiral, downward year for him. Even Derrick Henry, putting up 15 is pretty good for most people, but for him, you're expecting games where he's over 30, right? You're expecting those 3-4 touchdown games. Dude had 30 carries to get 128 yards. That's not actually good. That's 4 yards a carry for the biggest dude on the field, right? And he doesn't catch a lot of passes. He caught 3 passes and he didn't score. And that's your best player, right? He's starting a rookie from KC. I couldn't believe how little that dude was when I saw him start.
He's the new starting running back for KC. And then you got Michael Carter, who's going to have probably a little different of a look now that Breece Hall is gone. So it will be interesting to see how this all plays out. And I mean, Latavius Murray, if he ends up getting an RB1 and not doing the 3-headed monster that they have right now, like the pieces are there to do more than he's done. The pieces aren't there to make a run and to win the championship.
No. I mean, he's got 3 Rams running backs on the roster, hoping to pick the right one. Obviously Carter, at this point, you have to think that Murray's going to start for his team. I mean, there's nobody else. This is another team with 5 or 6. This has got 6 running backs on his bench, and only Carter is somebody. I mean, obviously he's getting screwed with Cam Akers. We don't even know what happened to him.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know if this
Maybe he lands at Buffalo though, and he then ends up being a Bill, and all of a sudden he blows up. Like he's got capacity.
Yeah.
But
he's still another team that's really down. But sorry. Go ahead.
Props to Nandu for picking up Cade Otton, who I'm going to pull a Corey. I've never even heard of that dude. He picked him up. I'm like, who is this dude? And he scores,
8 points.
Fucking smart. That's when Nandu picks up players I've never heard of before. I literally sprint to my other league to find them and pick them up. I don't even check to see who they are, what they're doing. I just get them because I figure it's usually a good move.
Right. Yep.
Except for Cam Akers. All right, cool. So we've gone through last week. Awesome. Let's look at next week and do some forecasts. When you and I met 2 weeks ago, we went through everybody and picked who we thought was going to win. That was kind of stupid in hindsight because we just all picked all the favorites because those were the clear people we thought should win. Last week with Mike, I went through and we had to find our biggest 1 or 2 upsets, which I think is more interesting. So let's look at week 8 head-to-heads. Forget the minus and the pluses because a lot of people haven't put their teams together yet.
Right.
Head-to-head matchups. Let me look at this real quick.
Yeah, the only problem doing it like this is that we can't. There must on mobile. It's easier. You can see the actual.
It is
thing here, so we'll probably both look at our phones here or whatever.
Yeah, let's do that. Although again, you're not looking for the scores. You're looking for the lineups to see what's going on. And again, people could have free agent pickups they could get, trades could happen, but based on how things are right now, I play bad company and he's not going to have Breece Hall. So um I have Justin Herbert on bye, but I have Tua who's playing at Detroit, who anybody can score against them. So I like my chances. I don't even really see that as an upset. So I'm not going to count that.
No, just looking at your lineup before I even looked at his, you got a great lineup going on. We just talked about bad company being in trouble without Brees Hall, and you're going to see it right now because he's going to have cutback. That's big. He's obviously going to start 3 wide receivers because he kind of has to.
But he has Cup playing against San Francisco.
Probably Cup and Judy.
Mixon. Cleveland hasn't. No, maybe it was not Cleveland. It was Atlanta. Somebody hasn't allowed a rushing touchdown all year. The defenses he's playing against, even Pollard playing against Chicago, are playing against fairly. Tanyan's playing against Buffalo. Like he's got a rough. Forget me. His teams that he's playing have rough defenses to play against. So that even makes me feel a little bit better.
Yeah. On my end here, I'm playing the hazards. Like you just said, Mahomes is on a bye, which means if he sticks with him, he's starting a guy that we don't even know right now if he's going to play the whole game, because Belichick went nuts yesterday and was really weird about everything. So
yeah, but you're missing Eckler.
Yeah, I don't know. So I'm missing Eckler. Let's see here.
You'll put Sanders in for Eckler.
But Sanders will be in. I'll probably start a Ayuk
over Alec Pierce.
Yeah, over Pierce or maybe over Taysom Hill. Everybody. It's so funny because everybody's up in arms about this whole thing. Dude's averaging like 7 points a game. I can't rely on him to do anything. Yeah, he could get 30, but that's like anybody. Anybody could have the game of their life once. So the real problem is if Andrews is still hurt, I don't know. He played that whole game. It's basically the first time in his career since he was a rookie that he caught less than 2 passes. So that was insane. So obviously Eckler out, that's a big deal. But
Biohazards has 0.04 salary cap left. So it's not like he can go out and pick up another quarterback. Zappy is $1.50 and Mahomes is a 385. So he doesn't have a lot of options unless he decides to get rid of Elijah Mitchell or IR him. But then even then, it's only going to free up. Well, that would free up $3. So yeah, he could do whatever he wanted then. Yeah, we'll see.
Gabriel Davis coming back. I honestly, this could be a toss-up because this could end up being closer than you would think. With Eckler out, Eckler's must be averaging 25 points a game minimum right now.
I'm picking Tim to beat you as my upset.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised. So next we got, at least on my app, we got the Blues and the Kings.
I don't know that either of those teams winning would be considered an upset. They're 1 game apart. So I don't even know. We spent a whole lot of time on that. It looks like Kings has a full squad.
Yeah,
for the most part, and so do the Chicago Blues.
The Blues are missing Pacheco.
Yeah, but they'll put in,
he's going to put in Murray or something like that. And
Michael
again,
Carter.
our Carter.
Harvard.
I don't know. I got Kings on this one.
Yeah,
I got Kings on this one for sure. I got Kings getting to 500 and can't believe his luck that he's gonna.
No, I'm voting against the Kings just because I don't want them to win. So, Barbarians Commandos, that would be an upset. Prescott, Robinson.
Yeah,
I never think that a running back going to a new team is going to do well right away because you have to get used to all their stuff. But maybe Robinson blows up his first game. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. Again, if Swift actually plays, the whole game, I don't trust anything that Denver does anywhere.
No.
So I don't even count Sutton as a threat.
It doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter, man. Look at the Commandos. You got Damian Pierce, Devontae Adams, Aaron Jones, Trevor Lawrence. It's not. I don't think that's an upset.
Yeah, that's a Commandos win.
Lead dogs and untouchables. Look at Jeff Bruni having another big game. He goes from one division leader to another division leader.
Yeah.
Travis Kelce's on bye, which will hurt Rod because he has to put in Gesicki, who's had a pretty decent last couple of games, but it's not Kelce. And if you go to the untouchables, Just Juju Smith, Schuster's out. He can get rid of Kenny Pickett and put Josh Allen back in, put Cook back in, put Diggs back in, probably put Goddard back in. I
think this is the Untouchables quick mini tour of the other divisions, telling everyone I'm still the champion of the regular season, like I am every year. And I say, cheers to you, Bruni. You keep that title as long as you want, brother, and I'll keep taking the titles. Okay, I like it.
A little shit talking. Yeah, I think Bruni wins this. That's good for me too, because then Lead Dogs loses and it makes our division a little more compressed.
Yep. Now we got Pit Bulls and Bullies, and woof. Woof meaning Pit Bulls, I think, are going to win because, you know what? It's funny. Look at this lineup: Tom Brady, Saquon Barkley, Najee Harris, Chris Olave, Drake London, DeAndre Hopkins. That's a good team.
Yeah.
Normally.
Yeah. In 2020.
Right? That's a good team. Brady's been horrible. I don't even know who that is in his body. That's not Brady. Barkley's doing pretty well. Najee Harris is okay, but that offense is so bad that he's very limited to what he can do. Olave's been pretty good. Drake London was really good for a little while, and now he's dropped off the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And DeAndre Hopkins had a good first game back after a month and a half off. So,
but it's not an upset.
Yeah. You know what? I'm gonna flip it. I'm taking the Bullies this week.
All right. Well,
I'm
go Pit Bulls. But yeah, I don't think whoever wins, it's not an upset. I think the biggest upset we talked about would be Detroit Biohazards beating you. That's my upset of the week.
Yeah.
And
I don't know how much of the upset that is without arguing with my best player. So
I mean,
we saw what Bruni just did.
He's missing Mahomes. So if he beats you and he's missing Mahomes, you're missing Eckler. Right. That's still a big upset. You were undefeated up to this week.
Yeah, this is where it all falls apart. It's where I lose 4 in a row and I limp into the playoffs and take another title.
I hope so. All right. So let's do
catch the last part.
Let's do I'm gonna name some receivers to you. And I want you to say receiver or deceiver.
All right.
Ready?
Yep.
I'm gonna go to my rosters here. Receiver or deceiver? CeeDee Lamb.
I'll go receiver.
DeAndre Hopkins.
Receiver.
Darnell Mooney.
Deceiver.
Juju Smith-Schuster.
I'm going to say receiver. He's been pretty good lately the last couple of weeks, so see if it continues.
T. Higgins.
Oh, I'll say receiver, but that team has like 4 of them. So
who's he play for?
Cincinnati.
Okay, good. I'm just making sure.
It's my quarterback. I hope I
never know with you. Oh yeah, you should know that. Mike Williams.
Deceiver.
Doesn't matter anymore. He's hurt for a couple of weeks. So
yeah, he's always hurt. That's the problem.
Yeah. Who else I got? It's interesting. I mean, those are too easy. Gabriel Davis.
Oh, I'm halfway in between with that one. I'll say receiver for now. He hasn't been a receiver for long enough for me to say full time, but
he's got 2 points less than Lazard, 7 points less than Lockett, 5 points less than Pittman. That's interesting to me as far as look at the stats, right?
Yeah.
War Pigs, we're looking at Deontay Johnson. If you could trade him right now for Pickens, would you?
Oh yeah, please take him. No, dude, I think he's a good. I would say receiver. The problem is they don't have a quarterback, and You watch them play. They don't even know don't even know he's out there. It's embarrassing how bad that offense is.
Amari Cooper.
Receiver. The dude is still 40 years old, still looks pretty good to me.
Yeah, he's got 1 point less than Debo.
Yeah. If he didn't shut off, he would have had another one.
Then we got Royal Oak. Let's do Chris Godwin / Cortland Sutton / Adam Thielen.
Oh, geez.
Deceivers. I mean, talent-wise, great, right?
Talent-wise, great.
Ability to do it this year with the situation that they're in.
Yeah, Thielen's too old. Thielen's fallen into for me, the old days of McCaffrey. McCaffrey's dad for you youngsters out there.
Ed
Who I
McCaffrey.
used to have. And then Cortland Sutton doesn't have a quarterback somehow. I don't know what happened to Wilson. And then who was the other one?
Godwin.
Oh, Godwin. And Godwin's hurt all the time. Godwin's hurt all the time and literally has a 45-year-old quarterback. So, well, he's not that old. Oh, he is, isn't he? How old is Brady? Is he 45?
40. I think he's 45 or season. Might be older than that, actually.
Yeah. So, yeah.
It's amazing. What about we're almost done here. Jerry Jeudy.
Deceiver. It's hard to tell. It's hard to tell on that team. So I don't even know. I don't see him doing anything because he doesn't have a quarterback throwing to him.
Devontae Smith.
All receiver.
He's a beast. He's a physical beast.
Yeah.
All right, got that part of it done. Let's see if I have any other cool stuff for us.
I got something for you.
Let's go.
And for everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about this the other day. As far as I can tell, it really, you did bring it up in your game, I think, the defense. I'm honestly thinking of bringing up a poll or a vote to just get rid of it completely.
What's the
Because
reasoning behind that?
if we're counting turnovers, right, and
Mhm.
sacks, and I feel like every week there are teams that do little to nothing, and if you want to take as much luck out of the game as you can, right? If it's possible, and I feel like the defense is the luckiest position of anybody on the roster, right? So if you get a touchdown from the defense, there's no way anybody would count on that, right?
Yeah.
A pick six is not something that you can count on because most of those that happen are somebody screwed up running the wrong route, the quarterback got hit while he threw it, it got tipped, something like that, right? That's how a lot of pick sixes happen. Running a kickoff back for a touchdown rarely happens, stuff like that. We haven't seen anybody shut. Oh my God, if that defense didn't do this year, it's just like non-existent. It's just an afterthought position that when I start a team on a defense, you would think they would get a couple sacks a game, but I've seen numerous lineups, not just mine, where they get 1 or 2 points for the entire game. If we played it like, I know maybe not a lot of leagues, but another way to do it is you're basing it off how many points they give up, right? How good of actual defense they're playing. I'm not saying we should do that, but if it was like that, then I would say, yeah, that makes more sense. But for right now, and I've thought this for a few years, it's just an afterthought position.
Interesting. I would love to have that conversation with you. Maybe next week we can spend a little less time on the weeks and do a point counterpoint.
Yeah.
For me, I absolutely do draft based on who has a good secondary, who gets sacks. I have 2 top 10 defenses, and it's not an accident.
Right.
So it's just as important as a kicker to me. Like every position is important. And there is luck involved, but maybe not always. Like there are certain teams that get more sacks, they get more penetration because they have better defenses, and I will play them strategically against a rookie quarterback or whatever. So yeah, pick sixes are really hard to, if you get that, you're lucky, but sacks and interceptions and that sort of thing aren't necessarily as much luck. So I'm not saying I would say yes or no to the vote, but I would be open to chatting about that and seeing what we think.
Yeah, this is obviously something that I'm not passionate about getting rid of it or anything like that. It's just like I was just looking at numbers, looking at see what teams do every week, and just feel like, oh, you had a good week defensively, good for you. You got lucky. You know what I mean? Like just, and I've got the teams in order of points right here
Yep.
on the board.
So like I have the Patriots who I drafted on purpose.
Right.
People hate when you draft
Yeah.
defenses, but they're scoring 8, 9, 8. They didn't have a great week this last week, but for me, often that's more than my tight end. So it's not like 0, 1, 2. It's
Sure.
enough to sway a win one way or the other. And had I gotten one less point on defense this week, I would have lost. Had we not
Sure.
had defenses this week, it would have been a loss for me. So I don't want it to be luck per se, like you're going to flip a coin and if you win, you win. Like nobody wants that. But I do think there's some strategy on the defenses and who you play.
Yeah. I mean, just as a quick example, like you said, maybe we can talk about it more next week or something. I have two of the worst. Conversely, you're looking at a difference from my best defense, which is bad, at 27 points.
You got a 17-point week, which is an outlier. If you take that out and actually do the math,
Well, okay, so 25 for
down.
Washington is the normal one, right? So 25 points versus 44 for yours at the Patriots. So that is a difference of 19 points divided by 7 games.
That's one way to do it.
Yeah. I mean, obviously you can look at it a lot differently. You could also say you got 19 more points than I did. But if we're talking about over 7 games, the difference is so minimal.
But you would need to do an entire season and do it a bigger sample size in the first 7 games.
Yeah.
You don't know if there's bye weeks or whatever. And they're like, I'm not disagreeing with you that it is not the most important point source for the team. I'm just saying that I wouldn't say that there's no strategy in it. And we should talk about it because maybe you're right. Maybe there's a point of making it truly about the defense, but then you can get into somebody scoring isn't necessarily the defense's fault. Maybe their offense can't keep the ball. Like there's something simple. And I've never played in a league before where they did defensive points the way we do it. Like in Yahoo, it's always based on how points you score. You can actually get negative points if they score 40 points or whatever, right?
Yeah.
I don't love that either. But you know what? Let's talk about it as a group. And let's see what everybody thinks. I mean, at the end of the day,
I just thought it was something interesting to talk about that. Honestly, we've never discussed that. It's just always been part of it. And we've never talked about it. It was just something that's there. And we're like, and conversely, that's the only position on a roster that you can't keep as part of your keeper 5.
Yeah.
So
nor would you, but yeah, it's interesting to me
but I think the difference there is if it was that important and you could tell, if the Dallas Cowboys defense was miles above the other defenses as far as scoring, fantasy wise, then somebody might keep them. But
maybe we should have Nandu on as a guest next week if he can pull himself away from suing people and being in court and have him kind of give, because he's done this for a while. He might have an interesting perspective. I'd like to hear some different people kind of weigh in. So if you guys are watching this or listening to it or whatever, get on Slack, kind of make your thoughts. We don't want to get to an arguing session because it's stupid. No. We're just talking about out loud. At the end of the day, we'll most likely leave it the way it is because it has to be a huge push to make any changes. But it's worth talking about because we should talk about everything. If anybody has a question, why are we doing it this way? Or can we look at this? We should always explore it. And if the decision is to stay where we're at least it was a thought out, intentional decision versus just we're not going to listen to anything, new. We're not going to do anything, change anything.
Right. Yep.
Cool. All right. I got to run. Thank you. Sorry, I didn't prepare too much for today. I've had a busy week, but next week I'll prepare some more games and I'll have some more sound bites.
We're still at an hour. I think you're okay.
I still hate Jeff Rooney. And the entire so I don't want him to lose every game. And I don't care if Tim wins or not. I just want him to get angry at some point during the weekend.
Well, that's easy.
Start lashing out with his messages. So if that happens, I'm a happy guy. Love you all. Talk to you guys soon.
See ya.